Now, your company has open source at its core, is that right? And if so, what does that mean and what does it facilitate?
Sure. So Bocoup is an open web technology company. It's a consultancy in Boston. And our goal is really to run a business in which we are using open source in a sustainable way. And so that manifests itself in 3 different ways, in which one is by working with clients using open source for their projects. So for us, implementing open source with our clients is a way to make it a sustainable alternative for them versus closed source software. Additionally, we do a lot of training in Bocoup. All the engineers run various trainings for technologies that we commonly use, and so we believe that helping engineers become better in using open source technology is a good way to, again, make it a viable alternative. And last but not least, we do a lot of community development. So we run a lot of events. We have an event space. We also run several conferences a year where we try to bring the communities together around open source projects that are growing to sort of help the technologies evolve and grow.
Do you see open source as more of a mindset? I mean, rather than, are we talking about more than just the hardware and the software here?
Oh, absolutely. For us, it's not just the code that we work on or the code that we produce with clients, but it's very much about the process as well. So anything from the way we communicate using tools like bug trackers and the way that we write documentation and test software and so on. It's very much about creating an open and transparent process by which code comes together. And so I believe a lot of those principles actually apply even when you're developing closed source software. But obviously for us, we try to do that out in the open.
You mentioned sustainability before. What's the relationship that you see between open source and sustainability?
To me, both using open source and contributing open source is really a great way to create products that can evolve over time and grow over time. So one of the challenges about using closed source software is that you're very dependent on the creators, and when projects that are closed source get dropped or become outdated, you're very much locked into it. I mean, we see that all the time with rendered software as well. And so by utilizing open source projects sort of in client work and just in anyone's project allows you to kind of both understand the core that powers your systems, but also evolve with those projects as they evolve. And so understanding and knowing what is in your system is, I think, profoundly important to making sure that your product doesn't become stale and that you can kind of keep up with the way the technology is evolving.
So last question for you, and switching gears a little bit. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the Miso Project. What is it and what are you hoping to do?
Sure. So the Miso Project is a collaboration between Bocoup and the Guardian Interactive team. We're very lucky to be funded by the Melissa and Bill Gates Foundation. And we're building an open source toolkit. It's a collection of libraries that the goal of which is to allow users to create data visualization content more easily. And so that there are several libraries that have to do with anything from data management and cleanup and sort of client-side data handling, but then also going into the more visual rendering ends of things. There's a lot of libraries out there that already do data visualization, and we're trying to kind of help that ecosystem come together a little bit and helping developers and kind of be able to weave visual content together more easily. And so we're working for the rest of the year. We're hoping to release a few more libraries before the year is up. And we're very focused on trying to get sort of the community involved and using some of our code. We're very excited. Our first library called Dataset that we launched a few months ago has already been used for some really exciting things, the Australian census. And,
oh, no kidding.
Wow,
that's great.
It's very exciting. And so we're really happy about how that went and how much feedback we've been getting. So I'm hoping to kind of keep that going.
Great. We'll definitely keep an eye on that one.
Great.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate taking the time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.